I can calculate the mass percentage of elements in a compound. And the next problem that we're going to solve on this objective is this. We have a compound of xenon and fluorine containing 65.5 grams of xenon and 38 grams of fluorine. What is the percentage of xenon in the compound, and what is the percentage of fluorine? So first, we start off with our given quantities. So given to us in the problem, the mass of xenon which is 65.5 grams. Also given to us is the mass of fluorine, which is 38 grams. Our unknown quantities are the percent of xenon and the percent of fluorine. So let's start with solving for the percent of xenon. Now, as you recall, in order to get the percent of an element in a compound, you need to take the mass of that element and divide it by the total. So the percent of xenon will be equal to the mass of xenon divided by the total. And since percentages are fractions out of 100, to get the percent, multiply by 100. Similarly, for the percent of fluorine, you're going to take the mass of fluorine divided by the total, multiply it by 100. So in both these cases, you need to know the total mass. But that's not given to us explicitly in the problem, but we can easily find the total by just adding up the two given quantities. Because if we have 65.5 grams of xenon and 38 grams of fluorine, if you add them up, then you will have your total mass of the compound. So our total is going to be 65.5 plus 38, which is 103.5 grams. That is our total. And now we can just plug in our values and solve. So for the percent of xenon, the mass of xenon is 65.5 divided by my total, 103.5. Multiply that by 100. When we put that in a calculator, and that will give us 63.3% of xenon. So I'm going to say my percent of xenon is 63.3%. Now we want to find the percent of fluorine. We can use this right here, take the mass of fluorine, which is 38 grams, divided by our total, divided by 103.5 grams, multiplied by 100, and when we put that in, we get 36.7%. And that is our percent of fluorine. But what if we didn't want to do this? We really don't have to do this to get the percent of fluorine if we already know the percent of xenon. And let me explain. So say we already solved for the percent of xenon, we got 63.3%. Now we want to get the percent of fluorine. Now remember, all percents are fractions out of 100. So if this is 100%, and my xenon is going to be 63.3%. The rest, actually, this is should like that. My percent of fluorine is going to be 100% minus 63.3%. And when I do that 100 minus 63.3%, 100 minus 63, I get the same number, 36.7%. And my percent of fluorine is 36.7%. And that's how you solve that type of problem.